The valiant flagship of the Galactic fleet cruised through the void of space, its sleek, metallic surface gleaming under the distant stars. The fleet, a powerful alliance of various alien races, had won countless battles in the past. Today, however, they were celebrating something much greater: victory over Earth. For centuries, humanity had been a thorn in the side of the Galactic Council. Their sudden rise in technology and power had stunned even the most advanced civilizations. But now, after years of fighting, Earth had finally been subdued. The Galactic fleet had cornered the last of humanity's resistance, and the final battle had been won. The crew aboard the Valiant stood at attention as their captain, Admiral Volar, addressed them from the command bridge. "Today, we've done what was once thought impossible," Admiral Volar said, his voice filled with pride. "We've defeated Earth's forces. The threat they once posed is now extinguished. The galaxy is safe, and peace is within our grasp." The crew cheered in unison, their voices echoing through the vast command center. For the first time in history, the fleet had conquered the most unpredictable and dangerous species the galaxy had ever known. They had been crushed, their cities burned, their weapons destroyed. The Earth was now a shadow of what it once was, an empty, broken planet that no longer posed any threat. But as the cheers subsided, a strange feeling lingered in the air. Something didn't feel right. Despite the fleet's overwhelming victory, there was a sense of unease. Some of the crew members exchanged nervous glances, but the Admiral remained confident. "We've defeated them," Volar reassured them, "and now we will restore order to the galaxy." But as the Valiant drifted farther into deep space, no one could have predicted what was coming next. Far below, on Earth, beneath the rubble of their fallen cities, humanity's last weapon was quietly waiting, hidden beneath the very surface of the planet. And as the fleet celebrated, Earth's dormant power began to stir. The Dreadnoughts, massive warships built in secret, far beyond the technology of the Galactic fleet, were awakening. Unseen and unheard, these titanic machines began their final preparations. The time for Earth's vengeance was drawing near, and the galaxy would soon feel the wrath of humanity's last hope. But for now, the Galactic fleet had no idea what was coming. The Valiant and its allies would soon discover that their victory was only the beginning of a war unlike any they had ever imagined. The fleet had barely passed the moon when a sudden, ominous shift in the space-time around them sent alarms blaring across the command bridge of the Valiant. "Report," Admiral Volar barked, his calm demeanor slipping for the first time. "What's happening?" The navigation officer, her face pale, quickly scanned the readouts. "Sir, we're detecting a massive energy surge coming from Earth. It's unlike anything we've seen before." Before Volar could respond, a sudden explosion rippled across the ship. The Valiant rocked violently, sending crew members stumbling. The lights flickered as if the very fabric of space was being torn apart. "Shields are down to 60%, Captain," shouted the chief engineer. "We've been hit by an energy pulse, far stronger than any weapon we've encountered." Volar's mind raced. "Impossible," he muttered to himself. "Earth's weapons were shattered in the last assault. How can they?" Another explosion, even larger this time, rocked the ship. The crew could hear the groaning of the Valiant as it began to list in space. On the view screen, flashes of intense fire began to appear on the horizon of Earth. These were not ordinary strikes. They were targeted bursts of massive energy, blasts that split the heavens themselves. "Enemy ships inbound," the tactical officer shouted. The crew's eyes widened in horror as enormous shadowy shapes began to materialize on their screens, rising from the planet's surface. Gigantic, towering forms with dark, imposing silhouettes. These were no regular military vessels. These were the massive Dreadnoughts, Earth's final, hidden weapons, now fully awakened and ready to strike. The fleet had prepared for everything, from alien bioweapons to new energy-based attacks. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared them for the sheer scale and destructive power of these Dreadnoughts. Earth's technology had far exceeded anything the Galactic Fleet had ever imagined. The first of the Dreadnoughts unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, tearing through space like thunder. The Valiant's shields flickered and cracked under the strain. Systems were failing. Admiral Volar clenched his fists, his mind racing. The fleet had underestimated Earth. The humans had been preparing something far more dangerous in secret, and now the galaxy was paying the price. Return fire. All ships, concentrate on their lead dreadnought, he ordered, his voice tight with determination. He wasn't ready to admit defeat yet. Not after everything they had worked for. Not after the countless victories. The fleet's remaining warships fired back with everything they had. But the dreadnoughts shrugged off the attacks as though they were nothing more than a nuisance. Their shields absorbed the blasts, and with each retaliatory strike from Earth's ships, the fleet's forces were slowly being worn down. Volar's eyes darted to the damage reports. The Valiant had already taken heavy hits, and there was no sign of retreat from Earth's forces. These dreadnoughts were too powerful. The fleet was being pushed back with every passing moment. "We can't win this battle," Volar muttered under his breath, a cold realization settling in. "We underestimated them, and now we're paying the price." But then, just as hope seemed all but lost, a voice interrupted the chaos. "Captain, look," cried the communications officer, pointing to the view screen. Through the flashing lights and the smoke of battle, a strange sight appeared. A massive, glimmering fleet of more dreadnoughts, emerging from Earth's atmosphere, one after another. The size of the fleet was unimaginable. More were coming. And suddenly, a chilling thought passed through Volar's mind. Earth had never intended to lose. Earth had only been waiting for the right moment to strike back. The fleet had made a grave mistake in assuming Earth was finished. They were wrong. And now, the humans were ready to turn the tables on the Galactic Fleet. As the Valiant continued to take fire, Volar realized the true scale of Earth's power was just beginning to unfold. The Galactic Fleet's once inevitable victory was slipping away, and the tide of war had turned. The Galactic Fleet had only just begun to realize. The humans were not the conquered. They were the conquerors, and they had a reckoning to deliver. The Valiant and its fleet were in disarray. The once imposing force that had marched across the galaxy in unchallenged triumph was now struggling for survival. Earth's dreadnoughts, like ancient titans awakened from their slumber, had made their presence known in the most terrifying way. Their massive forms loomed in space, casting shadows that stretched over entire sectors of the fleet. The dreadnoughts, once thought to be nothing more than a myth, now stood tall, their gleaming hulls reflecting the light of distant stars as they advanced toward the Galactic Fleet. Their guns, massive beyond belief, charged with energy that shimmered in the darkness of space. A single blast from these weapons had already crippled several ships in the fleet, and the relentless barrage was only growing. Admiral Volar clenched his fists at his side. His once confident face now showed signs of deep worry. He could feel the tension spreading through the command bridge. This was no longer a battle to claim a new world for the Galactic Fleet. It had become a battle for survival. "Reinforcements," Volar barked. "Where are our reinforcements?" The tactical officer turned, eyes wide with fear. "Sir, there are no reinforcements. The rest of the fleet is scattered. We've lost contact with most of our ships, and the remaining ones are under heavy fire. The dreadnoughts are too powerful." The captain's mind raced. He had thought Earth's resistance was crushed. He had thought that, after centuries of warfare, the humans were no more than a memory. Yet here they were, alive and ready to strike back with a fury he had never imagined. Suddenly, the view screen flickered, showing an image of Earth's surface. What appeared to be a massive, invisible shield enveloped the planet, glowing with intense energy. Earth's war machines, previously hidden deep beneath the oceans and underground, were now fully operational and fully revealed. The shield kept the fleet at bay, preventing any large-scale bombardment from space. "This can't be real," Volar muttered, his voice barely audible over the chaos. How did they build this? How did they hide it from the entire galaxy? The answer was simple. Earth had been preparing for this moment for centuries. Every human effort, every scientist, every engineer had been focused on one goal: survival. And now, the galaxy would pay the price for underestimating them. As Volar watched in stunned disbelief, the Dreadnoughts unleashed another volley of energy blasts. A direct hit sent one of the Galactic fleet's ships spinning out of control, its hull cracking open like a shell. The survivors didn't stand a chance. The human war machines continued their relentless assault, firing with precision and force. They weren't just fighting for their survival. They were fighting for revenge, for the freedom that had been stolen from them, for the chance to prove that they were not to be underestimated. And every shot they fired echoed the silent message: "You were wrong to ever think we were finished." In the heart of the chaos, the fleet's remaining ships began to break apart. Their weapons seemed ineffective against the monstrous dreadnoughts, and the shield around Earth was impenetrable. They were trapped in space, caught in the snare of humanity's long-hidden power. Then, as if to add insult to injury, a voice crackled over the open communications channel. It was a human voice, calm, confident, almost mocking in tone. "This is Earth," the voice said. "You thought we were finished. You thought we were weak. But now you'll learn the true cost of underestimating us. Prepare to face the consequences." The words sent a chill through the entire bridge of the Valiant. The Galactic fleet was no longer fighting for conquest. They were fighting for their lives. And with each passing second, it became clearer. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It was taking control. Volar's mind raced. Earth's war machines were unlike anything they had ever encountered. And in this moment, he realized that their victory, the one they had celebrated so prematurely, was nothing more than a fleeting illusion. This was no longer a battle to be won. It was a desperate fight to escape the wrath of Earth's fury. The Valiant wasn't just fighting against weapons. They were fighting against a force that had been underestimated for too long. And the universe was about to witness the consequences of that mistake. The battle had shifted in favor of Earth. The Galactic fleet's once unshakable confidence had evaporated, replaced by confusion and fear. Admiral Volar stood at the command bridge of the Valiant, watching in disbelief as Earth's dreadnoughts continued to pummel the fleet with devastating precision. The massive ships moved like a storm across the cosmos, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The Valiant was heavily damaged. Its shields flickered weakly, barely holding up against the relentless barrage of fire from Earth's war machines. Crew members scrambled in a frantic attempt to keep the ship intact, but every second brought more chaos. No one had anticipated such ferocity from a species they had thought long defeated. "Status report." Volar snapped, his voice strained with tension. The tactical officer, struggling to keep the ship steady, glanced at the readouts. "Sir, the remaining fleet is in full retreat. They're too far out to regroup, and we've lost contact with several ships completely. We can't hold out much longer." Volar slammed his fist on the console in frustration. This can't be happening. Earth was supposed to be weak. We were supposed to have crushed them. The situation was dire. The Galactic fleet had always considered itself the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They had crushed species far more advanced than Earth, using superior weapons, tactics, and firepower. But now, against Earth's dreadnoughts, it felt as if all their strength was nothing more than a paper tiger. Every strategy, every weapon, had been rendered useless. "Captain," the voice broke through the tension. It was the comms officer. "We've intercepted a message from the humans. It's a direct transmission." "Put it on screen," Volar ordered, though he was dreading what he might hear. The screen flickered to life, revealing a human figure standing in front of a massive metallic structure. His face was stern, his eyes sharp. The transmission wasn't one of victory, but of calm mourning. "This is Commander Heron of Earth's Defense Fleet," the man said, his voice steady and cold. You were warned. Earth may have been exiled by the Galactic Council, but that doesn't mean we forgot how to fight. This galaxy will learn, once and for all, that Earth is not to be underestimated." The words were chilling. Commander Heron's calm demeanor, juxtaposed with the unimaginable power of Earth's dreadnoughts, sent a clear message. The humans were no longer the meek species the Galactic Fleet had once believed them to be. They had evolved, adapted, and in their silence, they had prepared. Volar's mind raced. The humans had never truly given up on their fight. Their technology had been hidden, evolving in secret, far beyond the reach of the Galactic Fleet's knowledge. And now that technology had emerged, bringing with it an unprecedented force. "We should have destroyed them when we had the chance," Volar muttered under his breath. He knew it was too late for regrets now. Earth's wrath had only just begun, and the Galactic Fleet had no idea what they had truly awakened. As the transmission ended, the Valiant's systems began to fail one by one. The dreadnoughts were closing in. Earth's relentless firepower continued to pound the fleet, taking out more ships with every second. There was no retreat, no place to run. The entire galaxy had long underestimated Earth, and now it was becoming painfully clear that Earth's reckoning would be felt across every corner of the universe. The Galactic Fleet was learning this lesson the hard way. No one had ever expected the humans to rise again. But now, with their mighty dreadnoughts at the helm, Earth was reclaiming its place in the galaxy, and the consequences for the Galactic Fleet would be far worse than they could ever imagine. Volar's mind was filled with one thought. The galaxy had never known fear until now, and Earth was about to become its most terrifying nightmare. The battle raged on in the cold expanse of space, each passing moment bringing more destruction to the once proud Galactic Fleet. The enormous dreadnoughts continued their relentless assault, their weapons dishing out unimaginable devastation. No matter how hard the fleet fought back, Earth's machines simply absorbed the hits, returning fire with brutal efficiency. The Valiant was on the brink of collapse. A huge gash in its side sent tremors through the entire ship, and its hull groaned under the pressure. The damage was too extensive for the repair crews to handle, and the fleet's command was rapidly losing control. On the command bridge, Admiral Volar paced back and forth, his mind racing. There was no denying it now. Earth had not only survived, they had flourished, and now they were proving to the entire galaxy that they were not just a remnant of the past. They were a force to be reckoned with. "How many ships are left in our fleet?" Volar asked, his voice tight with stress. The tactical officer glanced at the displays. "We've lost over half of our ships. The remaining ones are in full retreat, but the dreadnoughts are cutting them down one by one." The admiral clenched his fists in frustration. "There has to be something we can do. The galaxy can't fall to these humans." The officer hesitated. "Sir, we've been receiving strange signals from Earth, some kind of new weapon system, unknown energy signatures. It's unlike anything we've seen before." Volar's eyes widened. "What? What kind of weapon?" Before the officer could respond, a massive explosion rocked the Valiant, nearly throwing everyone off their feet. A new dreadnought, even larger and more formidable than the ones before, had emerged from Earth's atmosphere, its massive energy cannons glowing with destructive power. The new ship was unlike any the fleet had ever seen. It was a weapon of pure annihilation, a terror on the battlefield. "Impossible," Volar muttered. "How many of these things do they have?" The new dreadnought unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, obliterating one of the fleet's remaining cruisers with a single shot. The once proud vessel was torn to pieces, its debris scattering across space in an instant. The remaining ships in the fleet attempted to rally, but it was clear the battle was over. The dreadnoughts from Earth, unstoppable and impenetrable, were now in full control of the battlefield. The Galactic Fleet had no way of countering them. But then, something unexpected happened. A transmission crackled through the Valiant's comm system, a message, clear and cold. This is Commander Heron of Earth's Defense Forces. You've seen the power of our fleet, and you know that we are not the same species you once conquered. Earth is no longer a pawn in your empire. We are free, and we are taking our place among the stars." Volar's heart sank. It wasn't just a declaration of war. It was a declaration of supremacy. The humans had long been underestimated, and now, with their incredible technology and relentless drive, they were making it clear that they would not be silenced. The comms officer's voice trembled as he spoke. "Admiral, the fleet is. We're being overrun. They've destroyed our main weapons and have breached our defenses. We can't hold out much longer." The last of the fleet's remaining ships began to retreat, but Earth's dreadnoughts were too swift. One by one, they fell. Each strike from the dreadnoughts left the galactic fleet weaker, more fragmented. The humans weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were making a statement. They were reclaiming their rightful place in the galaxy. The Valiant systems began to shut down, one by one. Power was failing. Shields were gone. The mighty flagship of the galactic fleet was now a dying vessel, drifting helplessly in the shadow of Earth's might. As Volar looked out the view screen, watching the destruction unfold, he finally realized the full scope of their mistake. Earth wasn't a backwater planet. It wasn't a forgotten world. It had been a sleeping giant all along, biding its time. And now, that giant had awakened. The fleet was finished. Earth had not only survived, they had triumphed. And the galaxy would now have to contend with the consequences. In the distance, the enormous dreadnoughts of Earth loomed, their weapons still ready to strike. The battle for the future of the galaxy had been lost. Earth's power was undeniable, and the universe would never be the same again. The humans had shown that they were no longer to be ignored, and the galactic fleet, in their hubris, had learned that the hard way. As the last remnants of the galactic fleet struggled to retreat, the full force of Earth's dreadnoughts closed in like an unstoppable storm. The once proud, mighty armada, a symbol of dominance across the galaxy, was now crumbling under the relentless assault from Earth's war machines. Admiral Volar's hands trembled as he gripped the edge of the command console. The Valiant, the flagship of the galactic fleet, was barely holding together. Sparks flew from damaged systems, and the hum of failing machinery filled the bridge. The screens that once displayed strategic plans and fleet movements were now flashing warnings. The fleet's communication officer, voice filled with panic, turned toward the admiral. "Sir, the dreadnoughts are targeting our remaining ships. We've lost contact with half of the fleet already. The last group of ships attempting to escape. They're being destroyed one by one." Volar stood in stunned silence, his mind racing. How had it come to this? They had never faced an enemy so relentless, so powerful. Earth had never been a true threat. At least, that's what they had all thought. The galactic fleet had been too arrogant, too sure of their supremacy. But now, all their pride and strength were unraveling. The truth was clear. Earth had become a nightmare for the galaxy, and no one had seen it coming. "We need to make contact with the rest of the fleet," Volar shouted, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. But it was no use. The dreadnoughts were everywhere, cutting through the fleet like a hot knife through butter. Suddenly, the loud crackle of static came through the comm system. A voice echoed through the bridge, steady, unshaken by the chaos. "This is Commander Heron of Earth's fleet. You have fought bravely, but the war is over. You were warned, but you refused to listen. Now you will see what happens when you provoke a species that never truly died. This is the last warning." Volar's face grew pale. The tone of the transmission wasn't one of boastful victory. It was calm, even cold. Commander Heron's voice held no trace of joy in the victory. It was merely an inevitable fact to him. Earth had won, and now the galactic fleet was nothing more than a fading memory. "Admiral," the tactical officer spoke up, shaking as he looked at the readouts. "It's over. The last of our ships are being disabled. We can't fight back. Earth has shattered our fleet. Volar's gaze fell to the screen. The last few remaining ships were now surrounded, their weapons useless against the might of Earth's dreadnoughts. One by one, they were being torn apart, their hulls cracking under the tremendous force of the humans' energy blasts. Escape was impossible. In the final moments, as the Valiant drifted helplessly through space, a quiet, unsettling thought crossed Volar's mind. How had they underestimated them so completely? They had believed that Earth was just a small, insignificant planet, a forgotten species, defeated and forgotten by the galaxy's most powerful forces. Yet Earth had risen, preparing in the shadows for this moment. Their technology, their ships, their weapons, all of it had been hiding for centuries, waiting for the chance to strike back. The humans were no longer the weak, scattered species they had once been. They had become the galaxy's most terrifying force. Volar turned to his crew, his voice low and strained. "We've made a terrible mistake. Earth isn't just fighting for survival. They're making their mark. This is their galaxy now." As the final battle unfolded before their eyes, Earth's dreadnoughts fired one last devastating blow. The Valiant shuddered violently as the ship's core ruptured, releasing a final flash of light before the flagship of the Galactic fleet was no more. The sound of silence filled the void, as the last traces of the once great fleet were reduced to nothing. Earth had won, and in that victory, the Galactic fleet had learned a harsh truth. Underestimating humanity had been their greatest error. And now, with their fleet shattered and their empire in ruins, the universe would come to understand that Earth was no longer the underdog. They were the new rulers of the galaxy. With their final blow, the dreadnoughts of Earth sent a clear message to anyone who might think to challenge them. We will never be forgotten again. The galaxy had been shaken to its core. The once dominant galactic fleet had crumbled under the might of Earth's relentless war machines. The universe had watched as Earth's dreadnoughts tore through the most powerful armada the galaxy had ever known, leaving behind nothing but destruction and silence. Admiral Volar, the last surviving member of the Galactic Fleet's command, drifted alone in the wreckage of his once mighty flagship, the Valiant. His crew had perished in the final attack, and his ship had been reduced to a floating tomb. There was no escape, no hope left. The power he had once wielded, the pride of the Galactic Fleet, was now just a distant memory. But Earth, the planet they had once underestimated, stood victorious. On Earth, Commander Heron stood on the bridge of his flagship, his face as unflinching as ever. The victory had been total, but there was no celebration. No cheers from his crew. This was not a war won for glory. It was a statement. Earth had been wronged, exiled, and forgotten. But no more. Commander Heron addressed the crew, his voice strong and commanding. "The war is over, but this is just the beginning. We have reclaimed our place among the stars. We will no longer be the forgotten species. Earth will leave the galaxy into a new age, and every corner of the universe will know our name." As he spoke, the remaining dreadnoughts in Earth's fleet stood as silent sentinels in the vast emptiness of space, their weapons powered down, but their presence a constant reminder of what had been accomplished. The fleet had emerged victorious, and their power was now unquestioned. Across the galaxy, news of Earth's victory spread like wildfire. Worlds that had once viewed Earth as insignificant now trembled in fear. The once proud Galactic Council, the very authority that had exiled Earth all those centuries ago, was now in disarray. Their fleets were shattered, their influence diminished. The humans had not only survived their exile, they had thrived. And now they were a force unlike any the galaxy had ever known. Back on Earth, the people had watched the war unfold from their home planet, knowing that the fate of the galaxy was changing forever. They had always believed in their potential, in their resilience. Now they knew they had the power to shape the future. The government, military leaders, and scientists of Earth began to rebuild, but this time they did so with the knowledge that Earth was now the ruler of the stars. The dreadnoughts were only the beginning. Earth's technology was far ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. They had advanced weapons, shields, and ships capable of dominating the stars, and they had no intention of letting anyone forget that. The other races, some of whom had once been allies of the Galactic Fleet, began to rethink their positions. Some tried to form alliances, offering peaceful cooperation, while others sought to test Earth's resolve. But Earth was no longer the planet in the shadows. They had become the power that would decide the fate of the galaxy. And so, the Age of Earth began. The planet that had once been isolated, forgotten, and underestimated had become the most powerful force in the universe. With their unmatched technology and unyielding resolve, the humans had proven that even when the odds were stacked against them, they could rise above it all. The galaxy would never be the same again. Earth's dreadnoughts now controlled the stars. They were the new rulers of the universe, and no one dared to challenge their supremacy. The lessons had been learned, the stakes made clear. Underestimating Earth was a mistake no one would ever make again. As the new age began, Earth's message was simple but powerful. We have arrived, and we will never be forgotten again.